Hi, good evening, everyone. So, today we will start our analysis. In today's session, we will start our analysis of doing Bitcoin analysis. So, in this session, we will try to decode what is happening under the hood. So, we will try to understand the risk management. We will try to understand what is happening. We will try to see if there is a trend line. We will try to draw a trend line. We will try to see what kind of trend line is making in the chart, if it is uptrend, if it is downtrend, and things like that. So just hold up, buckle up, because this session will gonna go live. So just stay with me and let's try to decode the chart. Let's try to understand what it is showing, what it is signaling, and how to manage your risk and things like that. Just to start with, if you guys are beginner and if you are not so familiar with the trading terminologies and technologies, so follow us on our different social platforms like Twitter, Telegram, and X, where we used to post beginner friendly videos. So, our core vision and mission is to help newbies and those who are very new to trading background, so just to help them with learning approaches. So do follow us on our various social platform where you can learn trading technologies. And if you are experienced trader and if you are looking for extra discount offers or some sort of offers, you can use my referral link, which is attached here in this um, description. So you can go, you can use my referral link, and you can avail extra features. If you are having any difficulties or any issues, you can shoot a DM on my X, and I will see you there. So without wasting time, let's get started. Let's get straight to the point, and let me show my screen. 1 second. Let me first try to fix. I'm adding my trading view into the stage. Hopefully, you guys can see my screen. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So, you guys can now see my screen. So, we are at trading view signal. So, here you can see our Bitcoin is trading today at 87,181 US dollars. As I always mention, whenever you start trading into, whenever you are up for taking an enter, or maybe whenever you are up for taking an exit, the very recommended point is to look for the key stats and to look for the performance behavior, because this gives you an overall idea how the asset is performing. So right now, as you all can see, we are at Bitcoin trading view. So basically we are analyzing the Bitcoin chart, right? So in this particular case, our asset is Bitcoin. So always, it's highly recommended, always start with the right side panel and then go back to the left side chart, because most of the traders, what they do, they directly jump to the left side chart, right? Which is not recommended. So the best approach to follow here is you can start with the right side panel, where you can check all the key stats. Like here you can check the volume is at 578.23. You can see the average volume in the last 30 days, in the past 30 days, which is mentioned here, 2.64K. This is very important. The trading volume in the last 24 hours, which is here you can see 36.63 billion, and the market capitalization you can see is 1.74 trillion. There are few more stats which I don't believe is quite necessary. So this four stats are important, and then come this performance, which is quite again very important, because it's important for us to understand how the Bitcoin, how the assets are performing, right? So this is the performance metric, right? You can see how Bitcoin was performing in the last 1 week, in the last 1 month, in the last 3 months, and in the last 6 months, even the quarter, then 6 months, and you can also check how Bitcoin was performing at in last 1 year, right? So this is the key point which I just wanted to highlight here. So you can check all those stats first and then only jump to the left side panel. When I say left side panel, basically to jump into the trading view, right? So let's get started without wasting a single penny. Okay. So the idea here, because today I have set it, I don't, so for those who were there with me in my today's live session, they know today we have done a detailed analysis and a detailed analysis of every candle from the past 45 minutes. And in this session, I have set it my timeline as a 1 minute because now we want to bifurcate. We want to decode every single candle forming in just next 1 minute, right? So we will start doing our analysis from 4 a.m. UTC, right? So as you all can see here to my screen at 4 a.m. UTC, you can see you can just saw a green signal here, right? A green candle. Let me zoom a little bit more. I let me just quickly check if you guys can see my screen. Am I audible? All set. All set. Lovely. Hopefully you can see my screen and I am audible. Lovely. Perfect. So now, as you all can see, at 4 a.m. in the morning, we have a green signal, right? But if you will notice, there is a no lower wick. What does this mean? It means it's a doji style candle, right? And whenever you see a doji style candle, you know doji is for indecision. It represents indecision, right? So we all can see small bullish body here, right? And it's a, it's a, I would say it's a kind of a doji, right, with a very short week, and that's on the closing to the upper. It's a higher week, right? There is a no lower week which you can observe, and that is why it is doji, right? So let's try to understand what happened here. So first of all, you can see after the strong red pressure earlier, right? You can see there is a whopping three different candles with a strong presence, right? With a strong red presence. So you can see after strong red pressure, price stops falling, right? And print a modest green candle, which you can see here, right? So let's try to first understand what this green candle is trying to decode. So see, once again. Let me select it. Lovely. So okay, perfect. Let's try to decode it in a much better and in a much deeper way. So first of all, understand sellers, they didn't extend immediately, right? They at when you will see at 4 a.m. in the morning, so they did not extend it immediately, right? And all the buyers, they are testing whether this downside is exhausted or not. When I say exhausted, it basically means they are not proving they are reversal yet, right? So why it likely happened? Let's try to understand this. So first of all the shots, they are taking partial profits, right? Like you can see here, there must be some buyers who must be, like they are in the, like all the buyers, they are stepping in at a perceived spot, right? Here, if you will see, all the buyers, they are stepping in at a, kind of a intra-minute perceived spot, which is very important for, just keep focus on what kind of terminologies I am using here, because ultimately it will help us to better understand what kind of chart it is making, what kind of trend it is helping us to draw, right? So always remember, focus on the keywords, focus on the words I'm using, so it will help us to draw better trends, right? Perfect. And you can see after a dump, like you can see here there is a continuous three downtrend, right? So after this dump, all the liquidity often return as a mean reversion, right? So all the players, they will gonna buy. So what does this trend basically mean? So you can see this is still bearish to neutral at this exact moment, right? If you will if you will ask me at this particular moment what the trend is telling about. So it is kind of still it's a bearish, but bearish to neutral, right? Because one small green does not reverse a downtrend. Always remember, we can see there is a three whooping downtrend, but it doesn't mean if there is a one green candle, it is equivalent to reverse a downtrend. Always remember, right? So just keep it in mind. So from the risk management point of view, I would say how a trader can treat this candle. So it's a kind of I would say aggressive counter trend longs, I would say, right? So this is only a probe size, right? Because all the trend before it was like a down, right? It was a red candle. You can clearly see on the screen, right? So this is the point which we need to keep in mind. And the safer side would be just to wait for confirmation. As I told you a lot of time, whenever you see a doji style candle, always wait, do not rush. Okay, because doji is itself a indecision. Whenever, let me break it down what doji means. Doji is indecision, and when I say indecision, it basically means buyers and sellers, they are in equal quantity. You cannot say buyers were dominated. You cannot even say sellers were dominated. So we have buyer and seller at same page, right? And that is why the recommended activity for any trader is just to wait, analyze the few more candles after this doji candle, and then to take your call. But always remember, this is not a financial advice, and this is not like a formula which I'm giving it to everyone, because in trading no formula works, right? Like, because see, 99% of people, they used to say, let me check once again, I think there's some lovely. Okay, so 99% of trader, they used to say, whenever you see doji, just take up, just hold down, take a breath, and then analyze few more candles, and then take your call. So this is what most of the traders recommend and suggest, which I am doing the same. But again, this is not a financial advice, and if I am saying this, it doesn't mean it will you will notice this behavior all the time, right? Just do not take it like that way. So I think hopefully from the risk management, from the risk management point of view, we are pretty much clear. It's a aggressive counter trend longs, right? And the safest play is just to wait for the confirmation, right? Because see, let's say if it break above the next candle's high, remember what I'm saying. If it break above the next candle high, or maybe a strong bullish engulf, right? So that's the confirmation which you have to wait for. And if you haven't received these kind of signal, it means the next trend will definitely be a downtrend or somewhere in between downtrend line, right? So that's the important thing which we need to understand. Now, when you will analyze the candle during the time period of 4-1, right? 4 a.m. in the morning, 1 minute. Because since my time factor is in 1 minute, so we will try to analyze every candle forming in every next 1 minute, right? So this will give you a better understanding of how to analyze the chart, how to understand how to make a note, right? So this session will gonna be super exciting. You will learn a lot. I would definitely request, hold a pen and paper, write down every point I am telling to you, and then start, you know, analyzing yourself in every trading session, whether it is happening the same way or not. If it is not happening the same way, what is happening new, and why it is happening, what is the risk management saying, how a trader needs to react. So things like that, always start writing it down. So ultimately it will help you to become a good trader in the longer run, right? So now let's see the next candle at 4 a.m. 1 minute time period. Okay, you can see here a big red candle. You can see a big body here, right? And the interesting part here is you will not notice any wicks here. There is no upper wick, there is no lower wick, which is very important, right? So what we can consider this as, it's a big red and it's like a impulse continuation candle. Why it's a impulse continuation candle? Just hold with me, bear with me. We will decode why it's a impulse continuation kind of a candle, right? So see, first of all, it's a large bearish body. We can see it's like the body, the size of the body. If you will notice, let's try to calculate the size of the body. So 88,132, 88,050, right? So there is a whopping, you can see such a large body, right? So it's a the I would say the type of the candle here is it's a again it's a large bearish body, right? Because we have a strong red and like there's a minimal hesitation which I can assume here by just seeing this candle, right? So let's understand what happened actually here. See, sellers they hit the market again, right? So like they hit the market to the bottom and push price down, right? They pushed the price down like anything. They pushed it very hard, and it's a kind of a breakdown attempt, I would say, right? So what it is telling to us, what it is telling to all the traders. So see, when you will notice the candle during the time period of 4 a.m., right? You will notice the pause was not enough to shift the control, right? As I told you, after the doji, just wait for a few more candles to make your own decision, to make your own call. So we can clearly see that the candle which was formed during the time period of 4 a.m. in the morning, so this pause was not just enough to shift all the control that happened earlier, right? And this is a seller still having kind of fuel candle, the next candle, right? So see, now, it's important to understand why actually it happened, right? So, see, at time period of 4 minute or 4 a.m. in the 1 minute, so see, they stops under the local base got triggered, right? And all the momentum which we had for sellers, right? They re-enter after seeing there is a no meaningful bounce. As you can see, after this doji, if there is a meaningful bounce, all the sellers, there is a high chance they will probably not enter the trade. But because they notice there is no bounce, so all the sellers they re-enter the trade, right? So from the reading point of view, from the trend point of view, I would say these stuff reinforces that the bearish control short term. Basically, it's it reinforces all the bearish control. It's for just short term. This is what I can assume. I can make the call, right? From risk management point of view, let's try to understand. Lovely. Okay. So from risk point of view, I would say if someone they tried along at you know 4 a.m., right? If someone they tried to take along at 4 a.m., so 4-1 is the invalidation candle, right? Because they cut quickly, you can see on the screen, right? And if we have to talk about the shots, because I just mentioned about the long, and if the shots, so the best shots are usually not on the bottom of bottom of a joint red candle, but again on the pullback, right after it. So basically you don't need to chase it. So that's the risk management I can assume here by saying there's a red bearish candle, right? Now, as I mentioned, it looks like an impulse continuation. You can see the next candle formed at 4 a.m. 2 minutes, right? So you can see again there is a small red selling. There is again a small red candle with a very small body. Again, it's a doji style, right? Whenever you see a doji style candle, always remember you just need to take a pause. You have to wait for the further steps. You have to wait for the further candles. You don't need to take any decision during this time period because it's very hard to predict the next step whenever there is a doji, right? So this small candle, right? This small candle. So basically, this represent like the all the selling they are kinda slow, right? And you know, it's again a very small bearish candle as compared to 4-1, right? With some very small wick, right? And that's just the higher wick. There is again no lower wick, and that is why it is doji, right? So what has happened here? So price they try to continue down or they try to stay weak, right? But again, the range compresses, right? Because there is a whooping difference in this two different height interval, right? So the range compresses, right? So see, selling here is still present. I'm not saying the selling here is not present. Sellers were available during this time period, but they were less aggressive. When you will compare it with the previous candle which was formed, when you will compare, you will notice that it is less aggressive. One second. Lovely. So when you will compare, you will notice that selling is still here present, but again it is less aggressive, right? And the first hint which anyone can uh, take here is that it's a kind of a downside momentum that may be cooling, right? So that's the thing which we need to understand. But now it's important for us to understand why it happened. So whenever you see after a big impulse, market often pauses, right? Maybe liquidity needs to refill, or maybe profit taking will begin soon, so things like that. So always remember, whenever you will see a big impulse, market often need to pause a bit, right? So from the risk management point of view, I would again just want to add that if you are short from earlier, this is where you will start thinking that do I trade stop above this 4 too high, right? And the new shots will probably be still risky to enter here because you are late and probably the compression can flip, right? So that is the thing which we need to understand here, right? Now, when you will notice the next green candle during the time period of 4-3, right? So you can see here, okay, you can again see it's again there is like a tiny green, and you can see it's like a imbalance kind of a candle, right? So it's very small bodied green, right? So again, what happened here is market they try to print the indecision because buyer and sellers they roughly matches, right? So it is telling us that the down move is no longer one sided. What does this mean? Because we have these two different candles. If you will notice, we are at 4 a.m. 3 minutes time period, right? So if you will notice the above two red candle, it basically means the sellers were dominated again and again. But during this time period, you can take an assumption that during this period, buyers and sellers they roughly matches, right? So we can take an assumption that the down move is no longer one-sided, right? This is often the start of a base, but again, this is not like guaranteed reversal, but we can say this is often the start of the base, a new base, right? Why I can say this? Because sellers who sold the impulse will definitely slow down, but buyers they will start absorbing it, right? So this is very important, which we need to understand here. And like from the shorts perspective, I would say we have to tighten the risk a bit because we don't want to give back profit if it's a reversal starts, right? And if it's a longs, I would say it's still very early. The best practice here is just to wait for again a bullish expansion candle, right? So that is what it is telling us a story. Now, when you will notice a different candle during the time period of 4 4 a.m. with a 4 minute here. Okay. Right? So during this time period, again, we can see there is a small red, we can see a final deep or maybe a weak push. This it's see if we have no candle available right after these candle, I would rather make an assumption that it's maybe a very weak push, or maybe I would say it's a final dip. We have two different assumptions which we can make via watching this red candle, right? So see, the candle type is again, it's a small kind of a bearish candle, which often looks like a last push down, right? So see, let's try to understand what happened here and why it happened, why this kind of candle formed here, right? So see, let's first try to understand what happened here, right? So see, there's a slight, like we can say there's slight continuation, right? You can see there's style, the best word to maybe add here is there's kind of slight continuation in down terms maybe, or maybe the retest of all the lows which we can predict here, right? But without the violence of 4 a.m. and 1 minute, right? So see, I know it's a quite complex for you to understand, but let me break it down in a much simpler way. See, sellers they tried again, but again it is not convincing, right? They tried again, but it was not convincing in the sense of sellers they tried to become the dominating personality, but they were unable to become they were unable to become the dominated, right? So we can say this can be kind of a classic bear to bull transition, right? So this setup itself, like if the next candle flips so strong, if you will see, if the next candle will flip very strong, there is a high chance that it's like we are to kind of a bull transition, right? This is important which you need to understand, right? Because it's a very small red. There is a no wick, there is a no upper wick, there is a no lower wick. It looks like a final dip, right? Or maybe a weak push kind of uh, candle, right? So see, always check the market. Like if there is still some liquidity below, right? Like check like you have to stop the sweep. Maybe you have to retest the demand zone, right? So that's important, which we need to keep in mind. So from the risk point of view, I would say if we are looking for a reversal, right? So it becomes low key, I would say, which basically which is like a invalidation level, right, for all the future longs. So this is the thing which we need to keep in mind from all the candles moving forward to this. Like when you will notice the next candle which was formed at 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes is basically 4 a.m. in the 5 minute. You will say it's again a big green candle. It looks like it is again a bullish candle with a engulf or maybe a kind of a reversal impulse, which we can say because see there is a lower week, right? So it's a very strong bullish candle, which often sounds and looks like a engulfing prior small bodies candle. So see, let's try to understand first of all what happened. So all the buyers they step in so aggressively that they step in so aggressively and they reclaim on all the ground fast, right? So see, this is very big because this is the first candle that says buyers are not just so defending, right? They are taking control over it, right? And when you will try to understand all the sellers they got trapped, right? They got trapped from their late charts, right? So they stop losses above all the micro highs and they get triggered, right? They are basically fueling the upside momentum. This is important, which you need to understand. So when it comes to trend read, I would rather want to add, this is where you will notice there is a high chance that trend will shift. Trend will shift from bearish to maybe neutral or maybe bullish intraday, right? So see, that's the kind of the story this candle is depicting. Let's just quickly take a uh, let's just quickly take the current price. Let's just quickly take a look at the current price. So we can see the current price of the Bitcoin is trading at 87,351, right? It's still okay. Lovely. So this candle itself is the game changer candle, right? So now let's try to understand what the next candle is trying to depict the story. So when you will see the next green candle, so I would rather want to add here, it's a follow through, right? Okay, it's a follow through kind of a candle, right? It's again a very smaller but bullish continuation. And remember, again, it's a doji kind of uh, candle. You will notice there is a no lower week, right? So the next, because see, whenever you will see doji, just take a breath, just hold your steps, just do not rush. That's the ultimate advice I can give it to you, right? So whenever you will see a doji style, you need to analyze the next candle behavior, right? So this candle will just, we just need to analyze how the next candle is behaving, right? So that's the thing. But by watching the single candle, we can say again it's like a smaller but a kind of a bullish candle, right? So price will probably hold either, right, or maybe they will gain and they will try to continue up, right? So again, it is telling us that if it's a reversal, so reversal is not just one candle, right? So it is building like a higher low and then higher high kind of a sequence, right? So whenever after an impulse, which was at 4 a.m. 5 minute, market often step upward as a new buyer scaling. But after an impulse, we notice a doji. So probably we have to wait for one more candle to make our decision, right? So when you will notice a next candle during the time period of 4-7, you will see it's a green candle, right? It's a small, again, a bullish body candle where you will not notice, where you will notice a very small upper week, right? There is just a very small upper week, right? So basically, they continue to grind up price. They try to approach around the blue moving average line, right? This blue moving average line, what this line basically represents, this is the EMA, right? And our EMA is set it as 200. So basically it's the average, I would say, average line. So whenever it will uh, our line, whenever our candle will touch this, right? So first thing you need to understand, if our candle is forming below this average line, right? So our market is still bearish, right? If it is above this candle, it basically means our market is bullish, right? So as you can see, the upper wick is about to touch this average line period. So it is depicting a new story for us, right? So market is, they are trying to regain the acceptance above that dynamic level, I would say, right? And if it fails, basically, so you often see a pullback, right? And if it holds, you will see the breakout will still expand, right? So I would say, from the risk point of view, we don't need to over leverage here at this time period, right? Because it is about to touch this dynamic line, which, so we have to wait, right? If it still continue to expand above, or if it will hold, or probably the, if it will hold, so probably the breakdown will exist, right? So we have to keep in mind we don't need to over leverage here right at this moment, because this is where price can probably chop around the MA and maybe shake all the both sides. So this thing we need to keep in mind, right? Now, at 4 a.m. That's the important candle, because right after this candle, in just next 1 minute, the new candle which will form probably decide the next two or three candles behavior, right? So this is the important candle. So again, we can see here it's a bullish continuation candle, right? Which is slightly larger, right? You can see it's a large, having a large body, right? See, we can see it's a large body. There is just a very small upper wing, but there is no lower wing here, right? So basically, this is the candle which was about to show either if it will break or hold above this MA, right? That MA is basically your momentum, right? So momentum. So see, this is again a bullish continuation candle which is slightly larger. So what happened here is price they tried to push us more clearly above this MA area. It is telling that buyers are winning the line in the sand, and this often attracts trend followers, right? So if you will enter here, you probably want a defined stop, probably below the MA or maybe below the, last higher low, right? So this thing we need to keep in mind, right? So there's a new news coming in and out. So definitely we will look into the news, right? If there is something, if there is some new news coming in, popping out, so we will definitely try to look for it, right? Lovely. Now, when you will notice the green candle which formed at 4:10, right? It's a large, uh, very large, I would say it's a very large green candle with a probably vertical breakout, I would rather say. Let's try to decode what happened here. So see, first of all, it's a big bullish candle. It's a big, maybe the impulse or with just a visible upper week. Again, there is no lower week here, right? Always remember this kind of impulse type of candle. So whenever you see impulse, probably you have to analyze again. See, so it's a kind of a big bullish impulse with just upper week visible, right? So what happened here is price they tried to spike up so hard, right? Price they tried to spike up so hard. This basically means all the buyers they tried to push the price so hard, and this is the only candle that really launches toward this region. Toward this region is basically this, somewhere between this 88,200 and 60 to 88,300 reason, right? So it is telling us that all the strong buying, right? But the upper week warns that sellers they did respond at higher prices, right? So it can still be a breakout, or probably it can be a mini climax depending on what comes next, right? So we need to keep an eye on the next candle. So why it happened? See, liquidity they run into the prior highs, right? And all the late long FOMO, it basically, and If you will see the longs formula, maybe it will see the all the stops above prior height. So that's the point which we need to understand here from this point of view. And see from the risk point of view, if you will ask, so probably if you are a long, this is where you consider a partial profit, right? And if you want again a new long, so you probably have to wait for the next climax candle, which often retrace, right? So see, the next candle formed during the time period of 411, it's a red candle with just a lower wick. There is no upper wick, which can be shown in the trading view. So what we can assume here is probably it's a red kind of, first pullback kind of candle after such a long and huge uh, uptrend, right? So it's a bearish pullback, and I would also say it's a candle probably after the breakout, right? So see, price they tried to cool off here, right? And sellers they take a turn. So this is not just this is not like an automatically bearish kind of candle. So it often it is like a often healthy after a vertical move, right? So see, the key question which we need to understand here is, so does it pull back shallow and hold above the breakout base? So this is the key question which we need to try to figure out the answer for. So see, why this thing? Because all the profit taking from 4 to 10 are the longs, and some will limit the cells at known probably the resistance zone, right? So these are the things which you need to keep in mind. And from the risk point of view, I would say, so the longs, do not panic, right? So longs, I would not suggest to do a panic sell probably. Watch if pullback will hold above the prior breakout area or not, right? And from shorts perspective, I would say it's still risky because shorting into the first pullback of a new up leg, it can probably get you trapped, right? So these are the things which we need to keep in mind, right? Lovely. Now look at the next candle formed during the time period of 412. Red candle with a small body. You can clearly see two weeks upper and lower, right? So upper week basically it's a kind of the rejection. It represents the rejection. So they tried to attempt higher, but they sold down, right? The price they tried to, we can say the price they tried to push up again, but they got rejected, which basically means there's the audience are not accepting the price of upper price of the Bitcoin. So there is kind of rejection, right? So this is the thing which we need to keep in mind. And it is telling that, see, all the sellers, they are definitely defending our resistance zone, right? And buyers, they are still present, but again, upside is more expensive now. Sellers, they are dominating now. So what you can notice here, see at 413, you can see a very small body cricket candle. I cannot even zoom more than this, right? So you can see a very small green body, right? Probably I just need to fix my camera a bit more, probably. If this is okay, I'm just trying to. Actually, I'm getting, probably I need to sit here. Actually, I'm getting this, I need to shift a bit. All right. So, lovely. So, during this time period, right, at 4:30, we can see a very tiny or a small bodied kind of a green candle here, almost like a doji. We have no wicks. We don't even have an upper wick. We don't even have a lower wick, right? So see what happened here. Let's try to understand. See, market they took a pause, right? And none of the side is now dominating here, right? So still you can say here, so as you can see here, here till here, sellers were dominating the market, right? But at this moment, you can see market, they tried to take a pause and you can say sellers, like you can say buyers, they entered the field and now they are ready to dominate the market. At the same time, because already the sellers, they were dominated, right? But now we can see we both have buyers and sellers in equal matches, right? So neither of the side is now dominating. So it is telling us that it's a kind of a, again, a decision candle. So after this rejection, the market is still deciding, right? So they are still deciding whether to consolidate or probably to continue up, to roll over, to continue go down, or things like that. So from the risk point of view, I just want to add that avoid any new position, right? Like I have been repeating this for quite long time. Whenever you will see a doji style candle, the best is just to avoid any new position, just to analyze a few more candles, and you don't need to rush during this time period, right? So just avoid new position. If you do not have any edge, this is where chop kills account, right? So this is the thing which we need to keep in mind. Now, during the time period of 414, right? Again, you can see very small indecision kind of candle. It's a very small body with a weeks, right? You can see the upper week. There is again no lower week, right? So this is like this represents the uncertainty in the market, right? So see, let's try to understand. Let's understand why this uncertainty is coming, why this uncertainty is coming for, and what it is telling us. So first of all, they try to attempt to move up, but price they doesn't travel much, right? So that is why this uncertainty comes into the picture and all the momentum, right? So momentum from the breakout is fading at this moment, right? And this basically often precedes that either break down into a deeper pullback or maybe there is a tight coil then pop, right? So these things we need to understand here, right? And from risk point of view, I would say if it is like a long, so you probably your best defense should be a structure stop, right? It can below the probably the local base, right? And if you have short, so probably you still want a clean breakdown candle, right? Again, it's not a financial advice. I'm just trying to make my own decision. I'm just trying to draw my own decision, which I would recommend everyone. Everyone need to do the same, right? Now, when you will notice the next candle, which was formed at 15 at a 4 a.m. 15 minute, it's a red candle. It's a small. Not a small bodied, but kind of a average body red candle. There's just a very small kind of a negligible upper wick here, but there is a no lower wick, right? So, kind of a bearish body that starts, moving away from the top range, right? So, sellers they finally push the price lower from consolidation, right? So, it is telling us that this is the, market saying that we are not continuing up immediately, right? and all the short term trend, I would say, they shift from bullish impulse, right? So kind of, it's a pullback phase, we can say, kind of, right? But again, there's no strong confirmation, right? These candles are not giving us the strong confirmation, but yeah, kind of, all the short-term trend, they will probably shift from bullish nature to probably a pullback phase, right? Because all the buyers, they stop bidding, right? And the sellers, they gain confidence after the multiple failed push, right? So that is why there is a probability that a pullback phase will come in, right? That's the thing which we need to probably take a note on, right? So what I can see, if I need to, till here, if I need to summarize what happened, so probably, from see, from 4 to 4 a.m. 1 minute to from 4, right? So see, there's a kind of downtrend, right? Downtrend, which basically loses all the momentum, and then it basically, representing the selling weekends, right? And at 4, 5, you will see all the buyers, they seize the control. It's a reversal impulse, right? Okay, let's do one thing. Let's try to basically, I think probably you can see my screen, and let's try to, draw our own line, like what we are understanding. Like we did the detailed analysis from 4 a.m. to 4:15, right? So now let's try to make a detailed conclusion of how we are taking the scandal, basically what kind of narrative they were trying to create, what kind of trend it has been created over the last 15 minutes. So let's try to draw our own uh, you know trend. Give everyone 2 to 3 minutes. Let's try to draw the trend, and then we will come back and we will quickly summarize the kind of trend we have had here and the kind of narrative which we need to set here. Right. So you have now 2 minutes. Go make. I believe you must be having your pen and paper. Just you have the screen on visible on our screen. So just draw the trend and then come back to me, and then we will conclude what kind of trend we have had in past 15 minutes, right? So let's start the work. Lovely. So I believe you have done your homework. So let's try to conclude what happened from the last 15 minutes, right? So we will start from this 412. We will see the narrative from this 415, right? So see what happened first. Let's try to understand. So like when you will notice from this 4 to this 4, right? 4 at 4 sharp 4 a.m. to sharp 4 a.m., right? So you will see there is a kind of a downtrend, right? You will see there is a downtrend, and definitely they were losing the momentum, right? And the sellers, they were probably getting the weekend here, right? But at the time period of 4 5, right, you can see here, so all the buyers, what they did, they tried to seize the control from sellers, right? So it's the kind of the reversal impulse which we can say here, right? From 4 6 to 4 10, definitely this is like a step, like this is like a step continuation, which we also often called it stair step continuation, right? So which basically means there is a, like breakout in expansion. We will see every time they were breaking out the expansion, right? So the momentum was pretty much in expansion mode, right? Then you will notice at 411, right? So from 411 to 414, from here to 414, right? So this is like a, probably this is like a kind of a sideway band. Again, it's not a very solid sideway band, but yeah, we can say it's kind of a top side resistance basically, right? So we have rejection here, we have stall here, right? And at 415, this time period, we can say it's right, probably the pullback risk will probably the increase. So we can say kind of the rollover begins, right? So for those who are very newbie friendly, I would say after a huge red impulse after 4 1, right? Don't try to chase shots late, right? Just wait for the pullback. Now, after a huge green reversal at 4 5, right? I would say do not FOMO the top, right? Best entries are again a pullback, right? After the climax candle, which you can see at 410, right? So you can probably expect maybe some chop, maybe some pullback. Just the idea is just to protect your profit. That's the suggestion I would want to add after a climax candle, right? And when you see the repeated indecision at highs, right? You can see 413, 414. They are like a repeated indecision, and that were at top, right? So market is just distributing, right? So they are reducing the size. So that's the overall conclusion I would want to share with you from this 15 minutes deep dive analysis. So for everyone, for those who are still new and those who are new to trading, follow us on our different social platform where we used to upload videos, where we used to educate traders, newcomers about the trading terminology. For those who are an active trader, experienced trader, they can probably use my referral ID to avail more benefit and features. So see you in the next live stream. We will be having another live stream in next 4 hours where we will continue to deep dive into the next analysis. So see you there.